6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Springfield Board of Education, September 19, 2023, to order. Mr. Adams?
Ms. Terry?
Here.
Mr. Hofer?
Here.
Mr. Ray? Here. Petrie? Here. Mrs. Frola?
Here. Stand for the pledge, please. Board members informal. The only thing I want to say is congratulations and thank you to the students, the teachers, and the staff for the report card this week. You'll get some information and you just thought I was principal again. I pulled everything up and I'm reading through it and I kept getting impressed. So but I want to say, and I know the students worked very hard, the teachers worked hard, so thank you. Mr. Ray?
I have nothing to add. A couple things. Finally, after a long and arduous process, Roosevelt's coming down. It's been a goal. That was actually part of the 712 project, so the people in that neighborhood will be happy. I want to congratulate SHOP, the teachers and the students, on their Purple Star Award. That will be coming. A few things out of Columbus, some interesting things out of Columbus. House Bill 235 has been submitted by Sarah Fowler Author. It looks to have 15 elected members to the State Board of Education whose districts would be the same as Ohio's congressional districts. House Bill 35 does not stop as it moves the State Board of Education races from a nonpartisan ballot to a partisan ballot, complete with primary elections. If passed, 235 would be fully implemented by January of 2027. It comes at an interesting time that the State Board of Education has already been stripped much of its power with the Department of Education and Works in the state biennial budget in House Bill 33. In addition to that, which even makes it more interesting locally, House Bill 267, sponsored by Mike Loychik out of Portland, goes one step further than that. Then it makes State Board of Education and local school board races partisan with primary elections, which would inadvertently limit the pool of highly qualified individuals from running. As some legislators pursue partisan races for local school boards, OSBA has already come out against that, and as a school board member, I would too. Politics, I think, for a large part, other than state budgets, I think politics needs to stay out of public education. Mike DeWine has formed a Ohio School Bus Working Group comprised of 13 governor appointees with background in transportation, education, and public policy and medical research. The group is tasked with examining topics as school bus regulations, school bus design, maintenance, and inspections, driver licensing, certifications and training, school bus safety technology, crash risk factors, lessons learned from other school bus accidents, alternate transportation and associated risks, school bus seats, safety of special populations, critical incident protocol. In that, they will do this interesting statistic. Since 2018, I find this rather interesting. There's been more than 6,000 crashes involving school buses in the state of Ohio. Those crashes account for less than 1% of all automobile crashes in the state of Ohio. And you have heard this, it is one of the safest modes of transportation in the state of Ohio. Sherrod Brown, Washington, D.C., state senator, has weighed in to put federal legislation into seatbelt requirements into buses. That will be very interesting. is if you've ever driven a school bus, as I have, and you get in an accident, and you have to unbuckle 48 kids. As Lori Fanger said to me when I was doing my recertification, what happens if you can't get them all out?
Thank you.
That's my
Mr.
report.
Petrie?
I was lucky enough to get a communication from superintendent at the PLCC that showed a picture of all of the athletes represented at PLCC, and I was very happy to see that about 15 of the 45 kids shown in the picture were Springfield High School kids. So we are represented very well over there, and I was very proud to see this picture.
Thank you for sharing that.
We have a bonfire tomorrow night. I see some of our cheerleaders here. So Bethany Twab's worked pretty hard on this. Starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow night behind the visitor bleachers. I've got some cheerleaders up front who are pretty loud and proud. So starts at 7 o'clock. We will be introducing all of our seniors. Our band will be there, our cheerleaders, all of our sports teams. Oh, homecoming court, yeah, I forgot about that. But I also want to say congratulations to our students, staff, and teachers on all the success of the latest report card. Having a daughter at Schropp, I know she was pretty excited. She didn't understand some of it, but she was pretty excited to learn that their school is succeeding. So, good times.
Awesome. Before we get on to the approval of minutes, Kevin, would you please, Kevin's got something exciting happened yesterday.
All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kevin Hanna. I teach at the junior high, and I also am the girls' golf coach. And this is my 9th year, and we've had some real good success over the years. This year, we're kind of in a rebuild stage, have a lot of young talent, and we're trying to get some new experiences for them. So I also have a niece who plays golf for Lake, and obviously they're in Stark County. And since 2007, they've had a tournament. It was the Stark County Championship, where all the girls' schools in Stark County get together and they have a tournament. And last year it got big enough where they had an A flight and a B flight, which was a big school, little school. So once the season was over last year, on October 7th of last year, I sent out an email after trying to collect all the emails of the coaches in Summit County. And in doing so, I rounded up about 20 different emails of coaches and ADs in the county. And I sent this email out with my idea. I wanted to have the Summit County Cup, where we could come over to Chenoweth, I'd organize everything, and we just make it an annual event. And I was just kind of spitballing and threw together a decent email and threw it out, and within 48 hours, I had just an overwhelming response. So with that in mind, I kept hearing what Mrs. Farola said for years and years and years, and that's the devil's in the details. I probably heard that 100 times from Mrs. Farola when she was our principal. So contacted Chenoweth, that's our home course, and ever since I can remember, Chenoweth has allowed our team and the boys' team to play their events, 10 matches, 11 matches a year out there, and they charge us absolutely nothing. So the idea behind the tournament was going to be a second tournament that I host at Chenoweth, just to generate some revenue for those guys. So we set everything up. Of course, we got to get the driving range set up for the girls to get there in the morning. The grounds crew's got to get there super early, get the greens mowed, get the fairways mowed, get the tees mowed. So they're putting a lot of work into this. And then, of course, on my end, I've got to round up some helpers. Went right to Coach Vaughn. My wife was able to step in. Dr. Putt did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, volunteered some materials. We bought pizza for all the girls, two medium pizzas from Hungry Howie's to have after they were done. And I had a special job for Mrs. Monachino, but she was unable to clear her schedule yesterday. So she couldn't be the friendly face handing out the water and the goodies as they made the turn. But needless to say, everything went very, very well. And it put I don't know, it's shined a positive light on something that we're trying to do in here at Springfield. And that's just make a better experience for our students, and that's what I tried to do for some of our student athletes. Some of the schools that attended in the large school division, Greene, Hudson, Revere, Twinsburg, Walsh, Stowe, Copley, Nordonia, and St. V had one golfer enter as an individual. And then the smaller school division was Springfield, CVCA, Woodridge, Akron North, Talmadge, Hoban, and then Norton had to withdraw at the last minute for, they only had 2 golfers that could make it. Firestone has a team, but they were unable to clear their schedule. And then I think Cuyahoga Falls has a team, but there's only 3 or 4 teams that couldn't make it, so we had a pretty good turnout. Stowe wound up winning it. As a team score, you'd keep 4 total scores, and they shot a 344, and the medalist was from Stowe, who wound up shooting a 75 for 18 holes. The second place was from Hudson. She shoots a 76, and Nordonia took 3rd place individually with a 77. And today, I think, was kind of the icing on the cake, because I got an email from Nordonia, and I quote, "Best tournament we have been to this year." So, like I said, that's just kind of the icing on the cake, but I wanted to get up here, and I was asked to share something positive, and for me, that was a win. So I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
support, very much so. I appreciate the support from our athletic department, and this is going to be an annual event that I hope is continued good things for girls golf.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, very impressive. It's
That was-
a nice event. All right, at this time, we'd like to have approval of minutes. Motion.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
It is recommended that, and approved that or seconded that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 15, 2023.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes,
Mr. Ray? Yes. Mr. Hofer?
Yes?
motion passed. Okay, the next item is the citizens' comments, and before we go into that, at the August meeting, there was a question concerning what should be addressed under the citizens' comments on agenda items. So I've read our board policy and learned the following. Under Board Policy 1069.1, public participation at our board meetings shall be indicated on the order of business. As you can see on our agenda, we have expressly stated that the citizens' comments on an actionable agenda items are welcome at this time. This is consistent with board policy, which declares anyone having a legitimate interest in the actions of the board may participate during the designated public participation portions of a meeting, and Springfield has 2. Not every board has 2. So we have the agenda items at the beginning and the non-agenda items at the end. An actionable item is one to be voted on by the board. Tonight, there are no agenda or action items before the board which relate to the current negotiations with the teachers' union. Therefore, comments on these issues are not appropriate this time. However, in my discretion as the presiding officer under this policy, I will make an exception, it's appropriate to make an exception on this occasion and allow those who want to speak about that topic to do so, as the policy was not followed by me, and I wanted to, in the last meeting, and I wanted to do tonight what was done in August, since it was my error and not the speaker's. Beginning with the October meeting, Board Policy 1069.1 will be followed, where citizens' comments on non-agenda items will be welcome, during the second opportunity in the evening. But before that, the board feels it's necessary to say a few things because, in response to a lot of the questions that have come to us. As a board, we want to make clear that from the outset that resolving the current labor impasse has been and remains a priority for this board, and we will continue to work hard to achieve that result. In doing so, we have full confidence in our bargaining representatives who, in addition to informing and involving us in every step of the way, have been tireless in their good faith efforts to finalize a contract. But as you know, it takes two to reach an agreement, and as you know, there are always two sides to the story. We have honored the agreed-upon process for negotiations and a mediation, and we will continue to do so. These are the facts. Negotiations by the parties' agreement are now under the auspices of the federal mediator. It is he who calls for meetings. It is he who determines when a mediation meeting is to end. Neither of the two sides involved have that option anymore. We have met and we will continue to meet whenever the mediator calls, and we are thoroughly prepared to do so. We will continue the mediation process in good faith and with full support of and confidence in our bargaining team. As such, we will not bargain in public, which is against the rules, and it just prolongs the process. We are confident that when this contract is resolved and the specific facts of our conduct in these negotiations come to light, that the public will see we have been fair and appropriate in our dealings, and we are trying to be good stewards of our limited tax dollars. To be sure, the financial situation in this district is not a secret to anyone. We remain the only school in Ohio under fiscal watch because of the precarious nature and level of our revenue. Anyone paying attention knows that because of this, we have been told by the state of Ohio that we must continue to reduce expenditures to avoid default, which is an option that's not available to any school district as a matter of law. I'm sorry. To be sure, I'm sorry. Despite this, we have put before the teachers what we consider a fair, responsible, and comprehensive proposal on all outstanding issues for a one-year contract. We want to emphasize that it's a one-year contract proposal because we cannot legally certify a contract beyond 1 year given our financial situation. The law requires that school districts certify that they have available funds to fulfill a multi-year labor contract. We cannot certify a multi-year contract, but we can certify a one-year contract. These are the facts, and as you can see, the idea that the board is holding back, stalling, refusing to meet, or not valuing our teachers are incorrect statements. Again, we are prepared to meet when the federal mediator calls a meeting. We will continue to honor the process of dispute resolution that the parties have agreed to. Please remember, we'll now move to public comment. Please remember that the public participation is an opportunity for individuals to express their views. It is decidedly not a question and answer period. It is clearly set forth in our policy. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and all statements are to be directed to the board president and presiding officer. Speakers are asked to give their name and address before speaking. Your address may be given in written form if you do not wish to give it publicly, and that's per request by someone who indicates they want to speak. Okay, at this time, citizen comments, please. Yeah.
Oh.
Not everybody does. Why? your name, though. Thank
Okay,
you.
I am Karen Dudonis. A lot of people know me as Karen Parker. I'm a proud Springfield graduate of the class of 2007. I went on to become a registered nurse, and I'm currently a clinical educator specialist at a nearby hospital. I don't regularly attend board meetings, but I felt like it was important to be here tonight, and I wanted to say a few things as a Springfield Township resident for my whole life, a Spartan graduate, and a Spartan parent as well. Many of the people in this room know who I am because they were at some point my teacher or a teacher of either of my sisters, maybe a family friend, or a teacher of my daughters. Maybe some people know me as a teen mom at the youth cheer, the daughter of 2 parents who have supported Springfield for nearly 40 years, or just a spectator who roots on any Springfield team. But I hope leaving this room, everybody knows me as someone who seriously values and supports the educators in this district. I remember the beautiful scarves Mrs. Palcheff wore. She was my kindergarten teacher. I was only 5 then, but I remember her kindness and how she sat perfectly in her chair to read to my class. First grade brought me Mrs. McLaren. She was also a kind woman. She knew all the kids in the classrooms because she was very present. Second grade brought me Mrs. Masenko. She was really funny. She always asked me about my family. I remember she's the one who taught me cursive because she told me I would have good penmanship. Third grade brought me Mrs. Graham, who would later in life still be in contact with me. I remember thinking she was the coolest person because she told us all she got bit by a shark. She was a hands-on new teacher, but you wouldn't have been able to guess that. I also recall Mary Meadows as a student teacher that year. Fourth grade is where I met Holly Reed. She became a staple in my life. She knew my family, but I also knew hers, as her mom taught and her dad was a custodian. They treated me like family, just like they treated everybody. Also that year I had Mr. Ojala for math, which I loved. Fifth grade pleasantly brought me the wonderful and well-known Betty Mitchell. She was someone who had high expectations for students, but she also had a ton of love to give to everybody, even the students that needed it a little bit more. I also rotated to Mr. Hanley, who had triplets that year, and Cindy Johnston, who was at the tip of her Spartan career. I'll always remember her love for a sports car. Sixth grade, I was able to have Mrs. Reed and Mrs. Graham again, but also Mrs. Frank, who drove me to love math. My years at Schropp were guided by a few principals, but I'll never forget the jokes Mr. Morris had in the hallways and the secretary, Mrs. Beasley, who literally knew everyone and everything going on in that school. 7th and 8th grade brought me more wonderful people. I thoroughly enjoyed and remember Mrs. Henry for her wit, Mrs. Gray for saving me during that crazy migraine. I thought I was having a stroke that year. Miss Patterson for everything to do with the fruit punch and confidence when I needed it in junior high. I remember 9/11 and the exact moment we watched the TVs, what my teacher said to me. I remember Mrs. Justin Homack and Chuck Cecier asking me about how my parents were, Mr. Bauer smiling at every student entering the school. I know I'm leaving so many people out, but I loved everybody in that building and I could tell a story about every single one of them. In high school, it was the same. I don't know that I could have had better teachers or cheer coaches. I loved them all. The secretaries, the special ed teachers, my counselors, I knew each and every one of them because of how they treated me and supported me beyond my education. So I bet you're wondering why I'm naming these people. I'm well aware that you know and believe that this district is full of some of the best educators in the world. But what I really want you to know is that I'm not the only one who looks at their school years and remembers them for who they are and how they shape them into adults. They are forever ingrained in who I am, and they are playing, sorry to type it out, a large role in giving the kids in this community more than just an education. They're all deserving of the best because even years after years of financial crisis and failed levies and hardships, they continue to show up to not only be Spartan teachers, but family to some of these students, counselors, meal providers, support systems, advocates, and many other hats that they choose to be voluntarily. I've actually voted for each and every single one of you to be on the board at least one time. I believe that each of you wanted to be on the Board of Education for similar reasons. Maybe is that you wanted to change the community or be a voice for the parents or students or to have a hand in creating a more positive school district. I think most of us in this room have those similar goals. What I do know is that also when you chose to run for this school board, you knew that you would have to be up for a lot of challenges and have to make a lot of hard decisions that impact not only the students, but the teachers as well. You are all educated adults that are very capable of finding resolutions to end months of negotiations. I do have a question, or really a comment. Please make it a priority to rightfully figure this out. I want to make sure there are perks for these educators. I know that our district is without extra money. Everybody is aware of that. But there are options to make the teachers feel valued and appreciated and compensated below their comparative low pay in Summit County. Isn't it true that the more you are appreciated and respected by your employer, the better performance outcomes you have? If you want to drive,
Excuse me,
oh, sorry.
5 minutes.
Oh, that was it? I'm almost done. Can I please finish?
How much is almost done?
I have this much left. I'm sorry. I don't come to board meetings often. I got a lot to say, Mary. I will go fast. I'm sorry.
The wrong
I'm sorry.
person's keeping time.
If you want to continue to drive excellence, we need to drive appreciation. And I'm not saying or implying that any of you are against our teaching staff at all. I'm simply trying to say to you that these people who choose to be Spartan educators deserve more. And that isn't just providing a safe working environment, but it is also related to their pay and what's expected of them. I have heard rumors of going around that the teachers are being stubborn and have been accused of not trying to help pass our levies. I'm actually saddened by this. Aside from literally going door to door and talking to residents, they continue to help raise our children as they gain their education. Is that not enough in an effort? Failed levies do make it more difficult to give our staff what's deserved. However, it's not the responsibility of our teachers to fund our district with their cuts and have the weight of the levy fall on their backs. I chose to buy a home and raise my children in Springfield because of who staffs our schools. Please, I challenge you to figure this out as soon as possible so we can move on and focus all of our energy to passing the school levy.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
And those names will stay with you until you're older than I am, because I still think of my teachers. Anyone else would like to address agenda items? Or, again, tonight we're taking non-agenda. Okay, thank you. If there are no others, then we'll go back to the list of items. Payment of bills. It is recommended that the board approve payment of bills for the month of August pending audit.
I'll make a
Sorry.
motion.
I'll second.
Been moved in second that we approve payment of bills for August.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes.
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes.
Okay, this next one is payment of bills then and now. Chris, can you tell me, how are these different?
These are different because we have to have, this is after, sometimes we receive an invoice before we have a requisition or purchase order. So we have to have board approval for those in particular.
Right.
Doesn't matter how big they are, it's just the auditors,
Okay, I
they
just
zero in on that once in a while, and I just want to make sure that's something we have.
Because I was asked that question,
Right.
and I couldn't answer it, and I don't like not being able to answer
We
questions.
have the ORC section
Right.
noted, that if you want to Google Ohio Revised Code 570541, and if you can't sleep at night, you can read it, so.
It's okay, I just wanted
All right.
the explanation. It is recommended that the board approve a resolution for payment of bills per Ohio Revised Code, section 5705.41.
So moved?
Second.
Go ahead.
It has been moved in second that we approve payment of bills then and now.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes. Motion is passed. Acceptance of financial reports. It is recommended that the board accept the financial reports from the treasurer for August 2023 as shown in exhibits 4, 5, and 6 on the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved in second that the motion be passed.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes?
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
All right, the motion has been passed. Now we move on to personnel, and I'll read the individual items, and then we'll vote on personnel as one. First is retirement resignation. Accept the retirement resignation of classified employee Kim Garrettson, effective September 1, 2023. 11.2, accept the resignation of classified employee Carol Simmons, effective 23-24 school year. 10.3, accept the resignation of classified employee Joanna Hanshaw from her cafeteria position, effective August 21, 2023. 10.4, resignation. Accept the resignation of classified employee Karen Morgan, effective August 17, 2023. Employment. Employ the following as classified substitutes per the negotiated agreement, pending proper licensure and pre-employment screening, effective the first day assigned. That would be Robert Hoger, Mandy Breeden, Molly Mack, and Megan Marinucci. Employment. The following people, the employment would be as listed. There are listings for educational assistants, cafeteria workers, teaching assistants, and custodians, and they are on the agenda. Employment. Employ Robert Hober as a 2-hour educational assistant at Schropp Intermediate. Employ Patricia Mayo as a 2-hour cafeteria worker at Schropp Intermediate School. Employ Megan Marinucci as a 2-hour cafeteria worker at Schropp Intermediate. Employ Robert Hoger as a routed bus driver on Route 10 for the negotiated agreement. Employ Crystal Hutchinson as a 7-hour teaching assistant. And then non-sport supplemental contracts. Approve the following non-sport supplemental contract for the 23-24 school year for the negotiated agreement. Larry Murphy as freshman class advisor. Non-sport supplemental contracts, and this one is band booster funded. Approve the following non-sport, there isn't a name. Approve the following non-sport supplemental for the 23-24 for the negotiated agreement, and something is missing, sorry. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew I had to have a name. God bless you. Joey Morrison, summer percussion, and Sandra Peters, color guard. We need a motion on.
I'll make a motion.
It's
Second.
been moved and second that the personnel items be voted on.
Second. Okay. Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes?
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
Yes. Item 11, substitute teacher list approval. It is recommended that the board approve the employment of the individuals on the Summit Educational Service Center substitute list as needed for the 23-24 school year. The Summit ESC oversees the credentials and licensure of each individual and makes additions and deletions as necessary through the school year. Let's see.
We do this every year. It's, our, the ESC does do the substitute, so if anybody's out there wants to sub, please call us. We'll direct you in the right way to become a substitute. So, and this just allows us to continue it all year long.
Do we have a motion or
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we approve the substitute teacher list.
This takes place of old Wren Hill that we used to
Yes.
use, correct?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
This was that we were able to pay our subs a little bit more because we took away the fee from Red Hill.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes,
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
it's been moved, or it has been approved. The motion is passed, I'm sorry. Number 12, service contract. And
Koinonia.
say it.
Koinonia. Koinonia.
Koinonia.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, it's a K
I
word.
apologize. I should know. Enterprises Limited. It is recommended that the board approve a service contract to provide transition-based services for youth in the Springfield Local School District. Would you like to say?
Sure. So this is a company that we contract with to provide job work experience for some of our students that are entering the workforce. They go to Iron Grill usually and volunteer along with Be Happy. I'm trying to think of where else they've gone the last couple of years, to the Boathouse. So it's a great opportunity. They get some sheltered work environment experiences, and they also come into the classroom and do some little mini lessons and stuff like that.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second that we approve the contract for transition-based services.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes,
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
I didn't want to screw up the name again. I don't like doing that. Number 13, cheerleading stunting. It is recommended that the board approve a request for the Springfield cheerleading program to implement stunting pending proper liability insurance adjustment, NFHS and USA Cheer, safety progression training, and coaches certification. And we heard about this at the previous meeting, so.
So
Want
moved.
anything else, or?
No, I think, Bethany, we're on our way to, yeah, okay, we're good.
All right,
So moved.
Ms.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we approve the cheerleading stunting.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yeah. All right, yes.
sounded like my
Shame on you.
contract there for a minute. Mr. Petrie.
Yes.
Mrs. Frola.
Yes. Okay, now
are
you
you
can
doing?
smile and hold your breath.
So Bethany, when are we gonna start saying that?
When are we gonna start stunting? As soon as the insurance is approved.
Okay. Are we gonna see it during basketball?
Good answer.
I think we're gonna.
Number 14,
Done already.
appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2024. It is recommended that the board approve the appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2024, and this is in Exhibit 9 on the agenda attachments.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
This is the permanent appropriation. Isn't what we actually may or may not spend. Let me get Mr. Petrie. This is just sets our budgets for the year. The goal is to actually come in under the budget, okay? If we go over the budget, then I have to do what they call a budget adjustment during the year, and I don't like to do that, obviously. So we're watching our budgets very closely. We were able to, I reached out to some of the people to see, the building specifically, to see if any teacher had a need. And we did get some responses back, and they were very, very reasonable in the amount, so I had a hard time saying no. They were only a couple $100s that they needed. Pottery, stuff like that, some other small items that I was happy to be able to accommodate. So, and I'll do that more in the future, hopefully, when things get better, which they will. I'll be able to do more and more of that, so. Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Motion passed. Number 15.1, the next items are overnight extended trips. 15.1, Springfield High School softball team. It is recommended that the board approve an overnight extended trip for the Springfield softball team and chaperones to travel to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to participate in the Grandstand Softball Classic from March 23 through March 30th, 2024. No school days will be missed, and all the expenses will be paid through fundraising by the participants.
So moved.
Second.
And I was told today that this started the softball career of last year, so we better approve. I think I was told, it better be approved, so.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie.
Yes.
Motion passed. Number 16 is policy approvals, and these have been exhibited before and open for people to read. They are listed by number on the agenda, and you can access them on the website. I'm not going to read all of them, but these are updates, revisions of policies, and then I think there are 3 or 4 newly added policies.
Just a second till we vote. Second reading.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the policies.
Mr. Petrie,
Yes.
Mrs. Frola,
Yes.
Mr. Hofer,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that I see some transportation-related policies. Those are being added because we've in-housed our transportation
Yes.
now. All right, number 7, motion passed. Number 17, treasurer's report. Mr. Adams?
What I'm handing out is gonna be on the overhead.
Read on Dustin.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you could attend. Springfield Local Schools, the vast majority of our revenue we get from 2 sources. We get from the state and we get from our taxpayers. Well, the new state budget has come out, and as you can see, I don't have my pointer, but if you go over here on top, it says dollar change between 24 and 23, right there. You can see what Springfield got from the state. 10 minutes of operating, 10 minutes, think about that, 10 minutes of one day. Cost us $69,000 a day to run our district, we got $3,600 versus, well, Akron, okay, you can understand that, but Norton, $888,000 more this year than last year. Montgomery, $742,000 more than we got last year. I can only imagine what we could do with $742,000. I think we need to focus in on that, and that leads into the second part. And I'm gonna try to look at the camera because this is a It's a statement from the treasurer, not the board. I come into work every day, and I love it. I love it because I see a bunch of preschool kids walk in. And the first day, they're all crying, not all of them, but they're crying, especially the little boys, they missing their mamas, just making a ruckus. By week 2, they're running in the building with their arms open up, hugging their teachers. Okay? I have a lot of admiration for those preschool teachers. They have to have a lot of patience. I follow these kids down to the restroom once in a while, just laugh. But the point I'm trying to make is this is why we're all here. This is why I'm here. This is why you all are here. This is why our board's here, our superintendent, my fellow administrators. We're here because those bright-eyed 4-year-old kids need our support. They need the community support more than ever in the world we live in. But to see what I see every morning gives me hope. And I'm hopeful that things will change here. Because if they don't change, we cannot go 23 more years without an operating levy. It just isn't going to happen. And I don't think people understand what could happen. I do when I come into work and drive by this Spartan water tank on Canton Road, thinking that, wow, what happens if that's not a Spartan water table anymore, or water tank? These are the things that we have to be serious about. This isn't going to happen overnight. But we cannot go 23 years without something changing. And the bottom line is, as you can see, we're not getting any help from Columbus. It's going to come on our shoulders, our community. Our 4-year-old kids that are going to be here for 12 years deserve better. They deserve better. That's all. That's all I got to say as far as compensation. Thanks for everything. If any of the preschool teachers are out in the audience, I agree. Thank you.
I think you can.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Central office reports.
Good evening. I just wanted to give a brief update on the Roosevelt project that Mr. Hofer mentioned earlier. The abatement has been completed, and we've moved on to demolition. If anybody's driven by there, this started yesterday and progressed throughout the day. I know this is a bittersweet moment for many that have a lot of great memories in this building, but the condition of the building had become such that this was the next necessary step there. So crews have made a lot of progress over the last 48 hours here, and I expect by the end of the day tomorrow. This was at midday today, so probably more progress has been made. By the end of the day tomorrow, the entire building will be on the ground and they'll begin cleanup at that point there. So scheduled by the end of October to be complete with the entire project and have the lot there returned to green space. So that project is moving along right on schedule, and expect to see that completion date met there. So
Is there gonna be some bricks available?
there can be some bricks available, yes. So contact me and we can make arrangements. We searched, we had metal detectors out there, we had light excavation done of the area where we were told it was, and we've been unable to locate anything. So they're gonna continue to leave that area as undisturbed as possible so we can continue looking there, but at this time, we've not been able to find anything.
So if anyone knows anything about the Roosevelt time capsule, maybe they can give us a call. It seems to be the mystery. I am very fortunate to be able to be the third person tonight to talk about the school report card that Springfield received. As a partnership between the staff, the students, the administration, everyone involved, Springfield was able to come out with a total report card of 3.5 stars, which was fabulous. We met state expectations in achievement and in graduation. We exceeded state expectations in progress and in gap closing. And unfortunately, we did not get the score that we wanted on early literacy, but if anyone who walks into one of our elementary schools at this point in time, they know that we are changing that program as we speak in order to get better results from the programs that we're working with. The only thing that we did not get a star in is because it is not rated, which is college and workforce and military readiness, and that will be coming out next year. If anybody wants to sit down and have a great hour-long conversation with me about the report card, I am more than willing and ready to talk to someone who really wants to hear me talk about it. So please give me a call if you'd like to talk about it.
I'm going to share a little bit update about our English language learners today. We've had an employee that teaches our English language learners for a handful of years now, but we had to hire somebody new this year. And she has been working super hard, so a little shout out to Miss Boyd for that. We have right now over 50 kids that are identified as English language learners across the district, and 7 of those being in our preschool. So we see a big influx coming through our schools, but what's tricky about our English language learners is that within 30 days of them coming to a new school setting, we have to do an assessment, so that gets really hard for Miss Boyd to get all to the buildings and stuff like that. So, but she's working really diligently to get all those kids their first assessment, and then we do monitor those test scores because then they take an end of the year assessment too in like March when we take the OSTs. So, but it's definitely a growing population, and she is doing a great job sharing information with our staff across the district.
Okay, I want to be the fourth person to congratulate the teachers, staff, students, and families for working hard and, resulting in the 3.5. I think when the preliminary came out, we thought we were just going to get a 3. And then looking compared to last year, our gap closing and our progress, we raised it up from 3 stars to 4 stars. And we're talking in stars now because the state did change the way that they do the report card. On September 9th, I had the honor and the privilege of attending the 36th Annual Springfield High School 50-plus reunion. Michelle was there also. I don't know what I was expecting when I walked in there. It was at Hartfield Kitchen, and we were in that one room, Melinda, where we had and it was just packed with alumni from Springfield. And, afterwards, they were so excited to come up and just start talking about the history of Springfield. And I found out how Boyer got named, how Schropp got named, and, what schools they went to at first. There were two things that happened that just really, that I thought was amazing was, at one point, they all got up and they sang the alma mater. And that was something the people from the choirs had to get up and lead them first. And the second was, they honored a alumni. She graduated in 1941. And her name was Carol Williams Cochran. And she also was a teacher here in Springfield for many, many years. And 1941, when I said something to somebody, they're like, oh yeah, my dad was born in 1939. I said, no, they graduated in 1941, and she was still as spry as ever as she walked around. I did bring the book, if anybody wants to see who the alumni are. It's pretty cool, so I'll have it up here if you want to take a look at it. So that was really special. I don't know if there's too many other districts that do something like that. That was good. And I've really never eaten at Hartfield Kitchen, so that was good too. And then This week is homecoming week, so we have the game against Woodridge on Friday, and it's a whiteout, correct? And then we have the dance on Saturday, and it's Under the Stars? Starry Night, yes. And working very hard, and it looks like it's going to be something that's going to be great. So hopefully we got a lot of kids that are attending.
As of right now, I think the last time I looked, there was only 100, but they all wait till the last minute to buy a ticket.
Okay.
So I figure probably by Friday, it'll usually jump close to 400.
Wow, that's awesome. So nice job. Thank you for working with that.
So on the 50-plus thing, Melinda, how many scholarships do they give presently? I know what they gave one.
It's changed over the years. I think it was only 6 this last year.
Pardon?
No, I think, was it 6? Or was it 11?
I made a slideshow for the banquet. They did 9 a couple of years in a row, but this last year there were less.
And they said that they're trying to do 11?
That'd be awesome.
For-
They substituted one kid at the last minute. We found out he ended up not going to college. So when I told them that he decided not to go to college, they hurried up and called an alternate, and they issued her $2,000. They're the largest scholarship donor that we have. They give each kid $2,000.
And then they do the sports one.
That's part of it. They honor Russ Pastic with one of them.
Okay.
With, well, a male and a female.
Right.
The two of them.
So, yeah, and they were, it was fun. I mean, it was really, they inducted 1973. So 1973 is now 50 years.
I wanted to mention the scholarships because over the years, they have helped so many students be able to go to school.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. Okay, items worthy of our note. On September 28th, Springfield High School Junior High conferences from 3 to 7. Wait a minute, yeah. October 5th, Springfield High School conferences, 3 to 7. It's not on here, but I'm going to say October 12th, last day to register to vote in November. Gotta get that in. October 13th is NEOEA Day, and there is no school on that day. October 17th is your next regular board meeting at 6 p.m. God bless you, here. October 19th, Schropp Intermediate Conferences, 3:30 to 7:30. And October 20, end of the first quarter. I can't believe that. October 26th, Schropp Intermediate Conferences, 3 to 7. November 2nd, Spring Hill Conferences, 3:30 to 7:30, and November 9th, Spring Hill Conferences, 3:30 to 7:30. Anything else that I should be listing that we didn't have on here, that you're aware of?
October 9th, we're gonna have another finance committee. We're gonna have 2 in October.
October
Let's-
9th, Finance
Here.
here, at what time?
5:30, they're always on Monday. We had a nice crowd last time. I encourage people to come. More information is out there, the better.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we have citizens' comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
Okay, since November of 2022, I'm obviously going to read this. I've been asking for a simplified version of the school finances, and I'm still waiting to receive it. My goal was for it to go on the school website, and then I would share it with the community via social media. My vision was to provide truth to misinformation spreading around the community about the finances. Maybe you need to learn what I'm asking for, so let me give you an example. Typically, there are different funds, or so I assume, but either way, this example will be fine. Let's say you have a fixer-upper fund, for lack of a better term. That fund contains $40,000. You take that $40,000, list where that money came from, then subtract $15,000 for parking lot repaving, subtract $10,000 for new office furniture and air conditioners, currently housed here. That now equals what? I mean, so simple. Here it is, minus, minus, minus. You have $2 million to pay staff. X amount pays their salary, X amount pays their insurance, X amount pays their health care. I understand this may be extra work, but isn't it worth it if it helps pass a levy? If it changes the minds of even 20 people? The board says it wants to be transparent, but that only works if the general community understands your software spreadsheets, and I'm here to tell you they don't. The straightforward format is so simple, yet it's been impossible to receive it. And just a little thing, that the screen that was up here, pretty understandable. I was at the finance meeting, I asked a question, something was said, and I didn't understand one of the terms, so that doesn't help either. During financial meetings, you said this information would go on the website in its simplest form. I'm still waiting to see something. Not having this information does not make me feel confident in the transparency. I hear that people, different subject. I hear that people are leaving the school district because they want to be on a good college path and can obtain that better from another school or better sports programs. You can only make blanket statements with proof to back them up, or you are also spreading misinformation. How about sending exit interviews to parents who have pulled their children out? You will likely find those two reasons accurate, but other causes include children going undisciplined and leaving other children a bit scared, and maybe some teachers. Another reason could be busing. If I have to drive my child to school daily, why not drive them to a different school with more potential? There are lots of reasons, but the point is, I'd like to see for myself in writing why these children are leaving. I'd also like to comment on the communications company you hired. What exactly have they done to better communicate with the community besides a calendar, which I might add is nice, I do like the calendar. It would help if you were sharing their progress. Was anyone in the community asked for their input on how this company could better communicate, or was it just the administration making that decision? You have to advertise, I understand, the regular and special board meetings in certain places, like the newspaper. Who reads the newspaper anymore? I don't. So great, keep promoting there because you are required to, but also advertise more on social media where the chances of people reading it increase. Not just the website, but for example, the Facebook page. Meetings should be advertised on the Facebook page daily during the week leading up to it, and that includes special meetings. You encourage people to attend board meetings. Why? The board meetings include who was newly hired, resigned, or retired, a treasure report that no one can understand or read, and you can't ask questions to understand it. The only thing worth coming to the board meetings is seeing special students, teachers, coaches, and teams getting recognized. The rest of the things I mentioned could go on the school website. Lastly, you put out a statement today regarding the teacher strike. You stated that the schools will remain open if a strike occurs and will provide a safe and fully compliant learning environment for the students. Someone questioned how you would accomplish that due to cancellations last week because so many teachers were out. In response, you said, we have a plan in place, but are hoping we do not have to implement it. A perfect example of lack of communication. Explain how. Be transparent. Parents and children are worried. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none, then it is recommended that the board go into executive session at this time for preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
So moved.
It's been moved in second that the going into executive session has been,
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Frola?
yes,
Mr. Petrie?
Yes.
Mr. Hofer?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
and there will be no action coming from this. This is merely informational.
Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. I mean, no meeting.
This is up here if anybody
adjourned.
wants to take a look at it.